A very good evening to all investors present here today and welcome to our most awaited event, Equity Outlook for 2025. This year does look uncertain with questions about the new Trump administration and upcoming budget stimulus. To provide you clarity on the number of questions you may have, we have with us our Chief Investment Officer, Mojo PMS, Mr. Sunil Damania, who's going to give you insights on and answer all your questions. Before I hand over, I'd like all the investors to know that we have an exclusive offer for Mojo One. At just rupees 16,999 for 1 year, we have a New Year bonanza. We're giving you 1 year free, which is valid for the next few hours. And since you all have attended this webinar, we're going to give you another year free. So a total of 16,999 just for 3 years, one of the lowest offers we've had over the past few years. There is a link just below on the chat box, and any of the investors who would like to take the offer can simply click on the link. Over to you, Mr. Sunil.
Thanks a lot, Jason, and very warm welcome all of you. Happy New Year too. I think this is the first time I'm coming in front of. Yesterday I was in front of our PMS customer, but for others, very happy and prosperous New Year. I know we all had a very great time in 2023 and 2024. Now the question that remains in our mind, will that get repeated in 2025? And of course, there are events that are lined up. You know, normally we don't see this kind of an event line up in the first month itself, and I'm going to discuss that in detail. But before that, let me wish you once again Happy New Year, everyone, and my favorite slide, disclaimer. This webinar is only to enhance your understanding about the equity market. Please remember that investment in equities are subject to market risk, and past performance is no indicator of future returns. We have a very bad habit. You know, and what is the habit that we have? We always take you back and show you our report card. I did very similar kind of webinar last year same time. And why we say have a very bad habit? Because we will not hide our failures. Like other people will show only where they've gone right, maybe through social media and other stuff. And so, मैंने ये बोला था, ये हो गया, मैंने ये बोला था, but they will not tell you what they said and that has not happened. We don't do that. We don't do success shopping. We showcase our report card threadbare. Where we have gone right, we'll tell you where we have gone right. And we will also tell you where we have gone wrong also. And hence, we believe in that honesty and transparency with our customers. And what we have been doing for many years will continue that tradition even this year. So before I move into my prediction mode and crystal gazing, I'm going to tell you what I predicted last year same time. And against which, what exactly has happened with data, so that you don't have to make a guess, ये prediction सही हुआ कि गलत हुआ. Am I right? So that's what I'm going to do that. So let me start with the first, and this is the same order which I made prediction last year same time. So I talked about the US economy will grow at 1.5%. And remember last year same time there was a fear of US having a hard landing. And many times I keep telling investors that the one person you have to ignore, the community that you need to ignore in your life, in your investment journey is economist. They will create a lot of fear in your mind, and that basically doesn't allow you to create the wealth that you otherwise should have been able to create actually. So what happens to the US economy? Remember, as we said in a webinar, this is a marathon webinar. So my presentation will go on, and of course then we'll take a question answer. So please tell your family members that today you are not going to be free by 8. Because we are going to throw some interesting data and other things, and if you want to ask your friends and relatives, ask them to join immediately, share the web link so that they can also watch this webinar. So what was the prediction? I made US economy will grow at 1.5%, of course, and we have gone terribly wrong. Why we have gone terribly wrong? Because the US economy is likely to grow at 2.8%. Of course, the data has not yet come out, that's why I said likely to. Almost the double the rate at which it was supposed to grow. But China, despite declaring the lot of stimulus during the year, was supposed to grow. We predicted it will grow at 4.7, and Chinese economy is likely to grow at 4.8, very close to that. And then you can see thumbs up and thumbs down. So our economic growth for two major economies in the world, US and China, it has been a 50-50. And I must tell you, no one has gone right with the US economy. If you look at the SAP of Fed also, they've also gone terribly wrong. Okay, so I think US has really surprised everyone in terms of the growth, and the kind of resilience the US economy has shown is really hats off. We had seen in 2023, we had seen this, some of the banks going collapsing and so on and so forth, and yet it did extremely well. The second prediction we did that if what would be the Fed rate cut, because that was the very hot topic in beginning of 2024. We predicted, and at that point of time there were various estimates available. We look at what is the history of rate cuts in the US economy, and we based on that we said there will be 100 bips rate cut from the Fed. What actually happened? Fed did 100 bips rate cut only in 2000, exactly the same. But we also predicted that RBI will do 100 bips rate cut in 2024. Unfortunately, RBI has not done any rate cut. And if you look at the 2024 little, like in post-COVID, every central banks behaved in a very unison manner. Like if one is cutting rate, others were also doing that. But in 2024, we have seen cited divergence among the central banks. Some central banks hiked the rate, some central banks reduced the rate, some central banks did no rate cut. And that's where I still believe, and I predict, as I mentioned in the past also, I do believe RBI is little behind the curve in terms of cutting the rate of interest. But reality is they have not done. So let's not go into the excuse mode kind of stuff. We look at the global economy scenario. We look at the commentary from the OPEC. We look at the commentary from International Energy Association, IEA. And we predicted crude oil price would be near about $75 per barrel. That's the average price. And of course, when we talk about average price, we talk about the Indian crude oil basket. We all know we used to import, and we do import from Russia and so on and so forth. And based on that, we look at demand supply scenario, and we came at $75 per barrel. Crude oil price were average at about $79.80, very close to. So a reason I've put thumbs up because within the 10% variance. That's what I basically did at that. It's very close to the $80 per barrel, what it did actually. Of course, it was much higher in 2023. And of course, when I come to my crude oil prediction, I'll show you how over the years crude oil prices behave. So our trend was that it will be down, and it remained down as compared to the previous year. And of course, I'm going to make prediction for 2025 also. 2023, record inflow from the FPI. And if you go back and do Google search, what kind of FPI inflow one can expect in 2024, and you look at some of that we call it recency bias. If something has done better, people will assume it will do better. We never. And if you go back to my, not only this webinar, which I did the same time last year, you go to my various media interviews also. It's all available on a Google, you put it. And I did predict that FPI inflow would be muted in 2024. And of course, I'm only talking about the cash segment. Actual inflow in 2024 was only 427 crore. Right on the bank. Remember, India received unprecedented inflow in 2023. So again, we did that. Gold and silver. So we said, my assumption at that point of time that gold will give you early teens returns kind of a stuff. Maybe 12, 13%, 13, 14% kind of a returns it would give. But no, I think it overshot my prediction. Gold give almost 22% return. And remember, this return is to some extent has been subdued for the very similar government of India reduced the import duty in the last budget. Otherwise, in international market, it's gone up by 26, 27% plus. the depreciation in the dollar versus depreciation in the rupee versus the dollar. Another which I predicted about silver, that it should give returns in the region of 15 to 20%, and very close to it gave. So silver gave 22% return, 21 point something. I rounded off to 22%. In fact, if you remember, I also mentioned that silver will give higher returns as compared to the gold. That's what I predicted in 2024 beginning. But if you look at it, both gold and silver give very similar kind of returns. The market was expecting BJP win in January 2024. I'm talking about, and of course, then market got little jitter and so on and so forth. And I came out with this one analysis that what happens if BJP wins? If BJP is not going to win, I said 20%. If BJP is not going to form the government, market can go down 20%. No major positive impact. What happens from 5th June till 31st December 2024, the Nifty was only up by 4.5%. So in other words, yes, market did move up post that. It did not sustain and it came down. And second half of 2024, Nifty gave zero returns to the investors. So what return you see 4.5% actually happened from 5th June to 30th June. Second half में कोई return नहीं था. That's why I keep talking about non-linear returns of the equity market. 4 sectors we predicted. And we said these 4 sectors should do well. Now remember, pharma index is there. But there are certain others which don't have an index. So what we did, we put all companies in that sector, look at their market cap as of 31st December 2024, and we look at 31st December 2024 to understand what kind of gain that has happened. Well, index is not, the Nifty Pharma is there. Nifty Pharma actually is one of the best performing sector of 2024, gave 39.1% return. The second sector we talk about, the capital goods and infra. And we all know that Government of India, despite allocating 11 lakh crore in the budget, which came post our prediction, has not been able to spend that kind of money because of during election time, the approval takes time, and then there was a monsoon and the change in the Babus, and Babus, you took some time to understand this, and yet the capital goods and infra companies on an average gave 43% return. Despite that challenges, of course, the benign raw material price did help them. Railway. And we all know railway did have this fag and did see some amount of profit booking, 34% return. And the last one was the defense, and defense gave 55.5% return, despite last quarter of 2024 was not a great quarter for the defense company. That's a report card. But we did mention what could be a downside risk to the Nifty 50. How much low Nifty can go? And I was completely wrong. Why? Because Nifty never touched 19,000. The previous year, 2023, I said 15,560, and Nifty did touch 15,000 level. The Nifty lowest was 21,137. Absolutely gone wrong. Something similar happened with our mid-cap prediction also. We said downside risk to the mid-cap is 31,700. No. The lowest level was 36,577. In the same way, small cap also we went again terribly wrong. We thought it can go down to 35,000. It never went to even breach even 40,000. This one 40,097. So all three we were down. Again, now it's very difficult to predict where would the Nifty would close by 31st December. 1 year. And it called for a lot of calculation, lot of this one. And we did make a prediction. Our sense was that Nifty can be between plus and minus 5% for 2024. And we have to look at our upper band was 22,818. Unfortunately, not, that's the wrong word for me to use, unfortunately. My prediction did not come true because the Nifty closed at 23,645. I missed by near about 800 points on the Nifty 50. Now, if you ask me, I should have given thumbs up because we seen a lot of volatility. But yet I give thumbs down because still it did not fit into the range. It be beyond my range because I've given -5 and +5. Since it did not close in that range, I said I have no rights to claim as at this one. But very close to 22,818 range. Mid and small cap. What kind of returns? I was expecting single digit returns from mid and small cap. Completely wrong. Mid cap gave 26% return, small cap gave 29% return. In fact, 2024 was a year for the mid and small cap. Despite valuation concern, despite some research report from leading broking house coming and saying they are in a bubble zone, the valuations are going haywire, but market के सामने किसका नहीं चलता है. The market sentiments are supreme and we have to respect that. And again, we went wrong there. Now that's the report card for 2024. What is stored in 2024? Again, one more disclaimer there. Please note, these predictions have higher chances of going wrong. And remember, this is what I stated in my 2024 webinar also. Is this webinar available 2024 on the website, on the YouTube?
Yes, sir.
You can watch that webinar. There also I've said the same thing. Please consult your finance advisor before making investment decision because this is my understanding, this is my personal view. Neither it's a Markets Mojo view or nor Mojo PMS view. These are my personal view and hence takes with a tons of salt of my this. They have a higher probability of going wrong. And of course, we are living into a very uncertain time. Why? Because there are a lot of events which will line up. And I'll tell you briefly what I will going to cover in my prediction, so you get an idea what you can expect, what I'm going to present in next 20-25 minutes. How RBI is going to do rate cut? How much more rupee can go down? Because everyone is little concerned. We are all-time low. India imports 80% of its crude oil, and if that is so, what is an expectation of crude oil? Because crude oil is also, behavior is also a function of what happens to the rupee. Because India needs to spend more dollar to buy that crude oil. So that's one. What happens to the gold and silver in 2025? FPI has a very muted inflow. So should we expect strong inflow? And now remember, FPI inflow also has an impact on rupee. So when I did rupee calculations or prediction, I factored in what could be the crude oil price, what could be the FDI inflow, what could be the FPI inflow, what could be the interest rate cut, because interest cut also has an equation with the rupee. So they are all interlinked. Sectors that are likely to outperform in 2025. Last time I given 4, this time I picked 3. Of course, everyone wants to know, जो रैली है मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप में वो कंटिन्यू रहेगी कि नहीं रहेगी, and what return Nifty can give in 2025. So these are 8 predictions. I'm going to do that. But remember, we are in a very uncertain scenario. I don't know. I was yesterday reading one article. I don't know. Very honest with you, there seems to be some new virus which has come on the screen and with the Chinese. No official communication, no official confirmation. We need to wait and watch. But there is some fear. But I'm not talking about that. So I'm not cover that in my presentation because that's more like whether I don't know the authenticity of that news. So I prefer not to go into that. But one thing is sure, that Indian economy needs a boost. Yesterday I was making some data presentation to our PMS customer. I shown how GST collection for the month of December is lower than month of November, and November was lower than month of October. The Y-on-Y growth was 7.7%. But when I look at the net, that's the gross 7.7. When I look at the net, it was only 3.3%. 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% 3.3% and that somehow explain what's happening at the ground level with the GST. So what kind of measures government of India will do? That's it, through budget. Some measures could be beyond budget, and how RBI is going to behave that. I think that's a big, and that's an area of debate. So we need to all understand what's going to happen. Last year we had an issue with the US. This time we have a more domestic problem to tackle with. Okay, of course, RBI did revise its GDP projection from 7.2 to 6.6. So what happens to that? So what policy measures do we see? We don't have a handle on that. In fact, the beauty with this 2025 is that the first month itself is going to see a lot of events. Result season is coming in and everyone is a little excited about what is stored in. Trump, 28th Jan. And with Trump, what policy action is going to come is a big question mark. Like debate was there on H-1B visa and then MAGA making America great again kind of stuff. Where do we stand? What tariff comes in? Will India be spared, not spared? Will China have 60%? If China has 60%, will that goods comes to some of the neighboring countries and so on and so forth? We don't have a handle on that. And hence, to do crystal gazing has become more and more difficult. Geopolitical situation. Every day it's evolving. We don't know what will happen, when it will happen, and so on and so forth. And the China. Will they announce bigger stimulus package? They did make an attempt in 2020. It's not that they did not make an attempt. Will they make an attempt? What kind of package will come? What kind of impact it can have on the global economy? Chinese growth is not a function of, is not a concern for China or China only. Chinese growth is also a concern for the global economy. So what happens? And no one has a clear-cut handle. No one knows for sure what China is going to do. No one knows for sure what Trump is going to do unless you are Trump himself. No one knows what budget is going to come, which is going to come in less than 30 days for India. Little over 30 days, we will have a monetary policy coming in. We don't know what's going to happen there. And geopolitical, Gaza and Israel, Ukraine and Russia, and so on and so forth. And of course, do we see that escalating further? Taiwan is one, China and Taiwan, there's another, North Korea and kind of stuff. No one has a handle what's going to happen there. So that's why I said take my prediction with a pinch of salt, because there are so many uncertain scenario, even I don't have a handle on that. So what I try to do is that I will look at the various parameters to best of my understanding, best of my knowledge, try to see what could be the possible scenario. So let me start with the first one, how many rate cuts from RBI? RBI did disappoint us when no rate cut. Our base case scenario is that inflation will come down. So we did see inflation moving up in 2024. We suspect that inflation will come down in 2000. And in fact, the food inflation, which has remained a little sticky, should see some. And one of the reasons why, what is the underlying theme? Because we had a very good Kharif crop. The production is high. Rabi crop, I've been informed, is really good. The water reservoir levels are much better. Number one. Number two, some of the food inflation which has gone up substantially, whether it's a cocoa, whether it's a tea, whether it's a coffee and palm oil and so on and so forth, I don't think that's going to get sustained there. And of course, I have prediction for crude oil also, so I'll come to that. But our sense is that crude oil will further be lower than what it was there in 2024. So my sense is that it will not create pressure on the inflation, and inflation should come down. With inflation coming down, there is a compulsive reason for the economy to be taken, given some boost. And if you remember, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman as well as Piyush Goyal did nudge to the previous RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das to reduce the rate of interest. And I think it's all the more reason I strongly believe the 7th Feb, which is near about 30-35 days from here, we should see a RBI rate cut of 25 bips. But that's not the end of the story. While FOMC, we don't know how many rate cuts will come. There is the expectation that 2 rate cuts will come, but not going to come in immediately. My sense is that there will be 2 more rate cuts after 7th Feb monetary policy meeting. In total, we are expecting 75 bips rate cut. Now this time, what I did actually, I have put a table of a probability. Because as I told you, there is nothing called certainty. So more than 75% rate cut, it's a 20% probability. And see, remember, there is nothing called surety. So I'm going to say 20%. But, and what I've highlighted in each table, you will see, where has a high probability 75 bips rate cut, 65% probability. 50 bips rate cut, 10% probability only. 25% rate cut, this is for the full year, 5%, and no rate cut, 0. I don't think what RBI did in 2024 is going to repeat in 2025. That looks very certain to me. And that's why I put a 0% probability of no rate cut like what happened in 2024. Let's move on to the rupee depreciation. Every day we keep hearing that rupee is touching new low. So what should we expect? Or kitna girega? So let's look at first last 10 years what happened to the rupee. There was 1 year, and I put this in a positive minus 6.30 because it's an inverse equation. It did gain. It appreciated against the dollar. But every year we have seen a cut in the rupee, a deficit in the rupee. Somewhere in 2022 it was 10%, somewhere in 2018 was 8%, and so on and so forth. But last 2 years, the 2023 was only 0.4, almost at the same level in 2024. And of course, a lot of that the fall came in the last quarter of 2024, 2.93% depreciation. So when I look at last 3 years and last 10 years, we did see COVID here. We did see inflation moving up. We did see central banks across the world first increase in the rate of interest and then started softening this. We did some scare on the global growth in the global economy. We did see some banks coming under pressure. But despite that, the rupee has depreciated on an average 3% per annum. Something similar we saw in 2024. So what we have done to derive what could be the rupee rate by end of 2025, we look at what is the inflation that India could likely to have, how many rate cuts RBI is going to have, what will happen to the crude oil price, what happens to the FPI inflow. And based on that, our base case scenario is that we will see 88 rupees of rupee against the dollar plus or minus 1 by December 2025. And this is the probability: 85, 0% probability, 86, 5% probability, 87, 10% probability, 88 is 65% probability. So if you look at 87 to 89, it's a 90% probability that rupee would be between 87 to 89. But I have gone more granular to give you this data. Let's move on to the crude. Remember, crude price has a big impact on the economy. It has an impact on the inflation. Because higher the crude oil price, probability is very high that crude oil, the inflation will be high. Since inflation will be high, it has an impact on the rate of interest. And third thing, on the rupee versus the dollar. Because when India imports crude oil, higher the price, you need more dollar to pay that, and that increases it creates a pressure on the rupee. So what we have done, we have taken this, and this is India's crude oil basket, am I right? It is not global market, because we need to be concerned about our market. Since 2001, how the crude oil have behaved. From 2001 to 2008, crude was on the upside. From 23 to 95. Of course, we did see, this is the average price. So we did see crude price going up to $150 per barrel also. Am I right? And look at this. During the same time, Indian market did extremely well. From 2000 to 20,000 Sensex 10 times. So sometimes people do say that, there is a strong correlation between the crude and the Indian market, not necessarily. Okay, and then of course, and what you see rate is a lower price as compared to the previous year. And 4 years in a row, we did see crude oil price coming down. That is 2013, 14, 15, and 16 from 106 to $42. And again, 2 years up, 2 years down, 2 years up, 2 years down kind of a scenario that we are seeing. So if you look at this pattern, it shows this one. So logically, one would say crude should go up. Why? Because there is a pattern here: 2 years up, 2 years down, 2 years up, 2 years down. So should we expect the crude to go up in 2025? What we did, again, we did a lot of study on what's happening globally. OPEC Plus, we all know, and we've discussed many times in a webinar also, they're supposed to hike their production by 2.2 millions per day. And they, on many occasions, they kept on postponing that. And now again, they will take a decision in April 2025. The reason why they postpone? Because there is not enough demand. So there is a demand-supply mismatch where the demand is not as strong as what OPEC Plus was expecting it. And they've been forced to keep reducing their, forced to postpone their production hike. My sense is that may continue to postpone again, maybe throughout the year. But there is a high possibility that non-OPEC countries will increase their production. EIA, Energy International EIA, Energy International Agency or something, which says that global oil production is going to grow up by 1.6 millions per barrel. And of course, Trump is all for the higher production from the US also. So on one hand, the demand is not likely to be so robust, and why I'll also explain you that. But supply is going to increase. Forget about OPEC Plus is not doing it. I do believe that the non-OPEC countries will increase the supply. Demand side, there are challenges. One is because of global warming, more and more people are going for the renewable energy. Faster adoption of EVs are happening, and in India, we are going to see a lot of EVs also coming in. That eventually reduce the pressure on the demand for petrol and diesel, and turn this one. We do expect in 2025 at least one conflict being get resolved, either Ukraine or Russia or Israel or Hamas. दो में से एक तो हो जाएगा. That can further increase the supply side pressure. And keeping these facts in mind, demand side, supply side, we expect crude oil price to be $75. This is average price. Don't get confused. Average for the full year, $75 per barrel. That's for Indian basket, as compared to almost $80 per barrel of last year. So 2 years up, 2 years down, 2 years up, 2 years down. I think that trend will get broken in 2025. So what is the probability again? More than $90, 5% probability. Between 80 to 90, 10% probability. Between 70 to 80, 65% probability. And between 60 to 70, 10. And below 60, 10. Let's move on to the gold and silver. And I must tell you, this is one asset class has caught the imagination of many investors. Why am I saying so? Because many times I keep getting questions in our webinar about the gold and the silver. So let's start with the gold first. This is the price. This is the international price. India is an importer of gold. So international price decides what happens to the Indian prices. And of course, then this year government basically reduced that import duty that did brought down the price. I was saying $27 increase in dollar terms, plus 3% of what we call rupee depreciation, 30%. But gold did not move over 30% in Indian currency. If you look at from 31st December 2023 to 31st December 2024, we did not see that because of the change in the import duty. Now, lower Fed rates benefit precious metal. Why? Because people always consider if I'm putting in the US Treasury, it does yield assets, interest on that. Gold does not earn any interest. So normally when the rate goes down, it benefits precious metal. 2 years back, we did one beautiful analysis and talked about how central banks across the world are buying more and more gold because they want to de-risk themselves from the dollar as a reserve currency. Is going to continue in 2025 also. So demand for gold from the central bank is likely to remain good. We do believe we saw good gains in 2024. That gain will get extended even in 2025. But it may not be as strong as 29% that we saw, 27% we saw in 2024. So what is the probability of gold price? Negative 10%, between 0 to 15 is 80%. That's what our sense is, and between 15 to 25 and about 20% appreciation, 5% only. So most of the time, most probably it will be between 0 to 15%. Let's look at silver. Again, silver has a, 27 in dollar terms, 21 for the gold, in 21 for the silver. So a little less than what had happened. 2024, silver did well, gold did well. But I must tell you, and I was reading some presentation from one of the Mexico company, I must tell you this presentation is not a function of one day. I had to read so much stuff to make this presentation, and in fact it is almost took a 1 month kind of a stuff for me to make that. And for silver, I was reading one of the Mexican companies. So Mexican companies are one of the largest producers of silver in the world, for your information. And I was reading one, there's a listed company there, and I was reading their understanding about Concol and so on and so forth. And of course, then there are various research reports available on silver. What I get a sense is that silver production is finding it a little difficult to ramp up because of this Mexican company which I was talking about. They were labor supply issue. Some of the mines that they were doing for silver have started getting exhausted, so they're not, even if the mines have, they don't have a good quality of ores that's there. So there is an expectation that there will be 200 million ounce of silver deficit in 2025. 200 million ounce. But unlike gold, silver has a lot of utility. Everyone talks about artificial intelligence. I must tell you that better use of AI means more demand for silver. Silver gets used in photovoltaic cell, that is a renewable energy. It gets used in electrical vehicles also. And since silver is an exceptional electrical conductivity, those who are Indian would understand that it is needed for the semiconductor that power AI systems. So my sense is that silver is a more structural story. And I think the gain that we are going to see in silver may not be for 1 year. I think we are going to see for at least 3-4 years down the line. So it looks like a more structural story. Again, my sense is that silver should give 15 to 20% return. That's the most probable scenario of 65% probability. Others, you can see that what are the other table. FPI. पैसा डालेगा नहीं डालेगा. Hardly anything in 2024. What they invested is chiller, less than 500 crore. Look at FPI inflow first. And I was talking about 2023 highest ever 171 lakh crore. Am I right? Unprecedented. And 2024 दिख भी नहीं रहा यहाँ पे 427 crore यहाँ पे. So this is historical trend of FPI, how they invest, or they've invested in the Indian equity market. This is cash segment only, not FNO. So what we look at the behavior of FPI over the years. What would the India growth rate would be? What would happen to the global markets and especially the US market? Because this whole function, see, FPI, they look at assets allocation as a priority first, And within then they will decide how much we should invest in emerging markets. Within the emerging markets, how much we should allocate to the market like India. In 2024, they were like kabhi khushi, kabhi gum kind of a stuff. 2 months strong inflow, 2 months strong outflow, and I don't know what was there. In 2024, because of strong US bond yield, China announcing stimulus package and some fund moved there and so on and so forth, we did not see. My sense is that we should see a strong inflow coming in from the FPI in 2025. Why? I believe US market will do extremely well in 2024. We will not see that. Despite Trump is likely to do corporate tax cut and so on and so forth, I think a lot of things are there in the price. And since US is not going to do so strong, fund will come to the emerging markets, and that fund of that emerging markets will come to the India. So we are expecting positive inflow, and our base case scenario is about 50,000 to 1 lakh crore, which is a 55% probability, and between 1 for 1.5. So between, if we have to put it this way, from 50,000 to 1.5 lakh crore is about 70% probability. Only 10% probability I see of 1.5 lakh crore, which something which we saw in 2023. I think this is now we are going into more interesting side of the prediction. कौन सा सेक्टर अच्छा करेगा 2025 में? I must tell you there is one contra call also there. Let me start with the private sector banks. I want to focus on the word private. So if you look at private sector banks, did not participate at all in 2023 and 2024. Hardly, very, very underperformance, which is normally we don't expect them to do. Why? Because they have a higher weightage in the Nifty and Sensex, and there was a assumption that if market has to do well, the Nifty banks has to do well. The private sector banks has to do well. There was a theory at once upon a time that if Indian market has to do well, Reliance has to do well, kind of a stuff. But that theory assumption got completely dashed in 2020, 2024. And one of the reasons is that they've been commanding a very rich valuation. A lot of positives already discounted in the price and so on and so forth. And we were not bullish in 2023, 2024 in private sector banks. If you remember, I was the first one to talk about the credit deposit ratio, which has gone up so high, doesn't look sustainable at that point of time, growth to come in. But the last 2 years of underperformance had made the private sector banks valuation very reasonable. Lot of funds moved from PSU banks to the public sector banks because public sector was the flavor of the season. I think that story will also come to a circle. Some of the market did not like some of the private sector banks because they chose not to grow the riskier loan book. That's unsecured loans, and we now all know how unsecured loans are becoming more and more problematic for the banks. I think there is a flavor coming back. If you know, one of the foreign broking firm included one of the leading private sector bank in their portfolio and assigned the weightage of near about 4%, if my memory serves me right. We see more kind of a story coming in the 2025. So the valuations are good. The banks we have chose not to grow. I'm harping on the word chose not to grow. See, sometimes we need to also understand the psychology of the management. Sometimes, we all want to chase growth, which may not be sustainable, which is not be quality growth. The banks which chose to grow or not to grow, I think are going to see a lot of investors will appreciate that they did the right thing. Why? Because the problem of unsecured loans is not going to become a headache for them now. So I think they will do well. So I think our sense is the private sector banks should do extremely well in 2025. The contra is FMCG. We all know FMCG was the only index which closed in the red in 2024. And for the right reason. input cost went up, lower demand from the urban economy. Rural was little strong, but it was struggle, competition, so and so, margin coming under pressure and so on and so forth. शायद वो change होगा. Why I'm saying so? Because strong rural consumption, I do believe that government will come out with the stimulus package in the budget, and RBI will do the rate cut, which I talk about 75 bips. That will put more money in the hands of the customers, and when the customer gets more money, it should help FMCG companies. But over and above that, if you look at some of the FMCG companies, you look at the 10 years valuations, look at the 5-year valuation, and look at the present valuation, you will see that available at a quite discount to what they've been historically commanding. So somewhere the funds will start flowing into the FMCG. That's a contra call. I don't think many people have basically talked about the FMCG as a sector to watch out in 2025. The third one, which is, again, I'm repeating of what it happened last year, capital goods and infra. Story is very simple. This year, government is not likely to spend what has been budgeted in the budget documents to 11 lakh crore. Because of the full year was not available, budget came little late, no chance to implement. Because of election, there was no awards have been done. All this will now, that what was not been done in 2024 will happen in 2025 with double the power. And that should help the capital goods and infra companies to do extremely well. And second thing, the benign commodity price also helps them to report better margins. So they will see order book increasing, they will see margins improving, they will see the top line improving, and that makes us believe that capital goods and infra should also do well in 2025. So I have taken this time 3 sectors only, not 4, unlike last year. Mid and small cap. Will they outperform? I think that's the one question that everyone wants to know. If you look at the mutual fund flow also, we have seen strong inflow coming in the mid and small cap mutual fund schemes. And many mutual fund schemes has to announce, boss, हमारे पास अभी पैसा मत दो, because we are finding difficult to get the ideas to invest your money. Am I right? So what happens in 2025? First, let's look at the fundamental side of the business. What I have been doing, पैसा तो बहुत बनाया उन्होंने, but कंपनी ने पैसा बनाया कि नहीं बनाया? What happened to the top line growth? What happened to the bottom line growth? So what we have done, we have looked at TTM growth. What is TTM growth? Trailing 12 months growth. In other words, the year ended September, 12 months ended September 2024 versus 12 months ended September 2023. So 4 quarters ending at September 2024 and 4 quarters ending at September 2023. So understand what is the fundamental growth story in those companies. The sales of BSE mid-cap grew by 9% and profits grew by 3.7%. BSE small cap did better as compared to the mid cap. Why? Because the profit grew by 13.6%, but top line growth was only 5.2%. The reason I'm giving you this because remember these numbers when I come to the prediction of my the mid and small cap. This is my slide which I keep presenting every year. And Jason would know, and Jason always keep asking, कहाँ से data लेके आते हो आप? So what I do basically, there is a group in the BSE. My definition of mid and small cap is those companies which are not part of A group. It's a very crude way of looking at it because the MFI definition of top 100 companies, A group has about 250 companies or so. But I thought that's clearly represent that. And then I've applied consistently for last 10 years just to understand. So if you look at this, the company which are not part of A group, their average has been 10.2% in last year. And of course, there have been some period where they have been higher also, and there will be some period they will be lower also. But after 2018, which has been below average, now it started moving towards the average. And if you look at it this time, when they touch average, they started coming down somewhere here. Now they're very close to the average, 10.2 versus 9.9. So now I give you what happened on the fundamental side. I talked about what has happened to the average side. Now let's look at what happened to the mid and small cap. 5 years in a row, BSE mid cap has given positive returns. If I go back history, the best 4 consecutive return has been 2014 to 2017. That's the 4 years in a row. When I look at what the returns have been given in last 5 years, it has been 25.4% return. If you ask anyone, कितना return market देती है, 15% देती है, मोटा मोटा. So in other words, mid cap has given 25.4% return. Now I can understand that kind of return can be justifiable if there is a growth in the net profit of the mid cap in last 12 months. So when you look at that, the net profit growth is only 3.7%. When you look at the valuation side, it's commanding at 40x. Rich है ना भाई? Trailing 12 months का. So if there is no growth, you are commanding rich valuation. Anyway, you're given 25% for this. We believe there is an 85% probability that we should expect muted performance from the mid cap. And this is a historical chart of P price to earning of a mid cap. You can see how it is much higher as compared to the average. I just want to put one disclaimer here. See, if you look at this graph, you can see Jan 2020 and then you see June 2022. So you will say, ये data में गलती है क्या? नहीं, data में गलती नहीं है. We remove FY 2021 and FY 2022 because of the COVID impact, because it was disturbing our price to earning ratio. So I thought let's not do that because let's smoothen it out. So we remove this 2 years. And something similar you also will see in a small cap also. Let's come to the small cap. Mid cap give 24-25% return. Small cap has given 5 years here at 32%. That reduces the probability of another strong layer returns from the small cap. Again, we look at the data. Okay, what happens if the small cap index give 2 years in a row strong returns in double digit? And what we have realized that if it's given positive returns in double digit in 2 years in a row, normally next year returns become little muted. One good thing about the small cap index, which I said that growth has been good in this, it's still commanding lower PS compared to what is historical average that. So our sense is that small cap will do better, but don't expect as high as return that we expected or that we experienced in the last 2 years. And this is a ratio of a small cap historical versus the present one. Now let's come to the broader market. Nifty का क्या लगता है? Will Nifty be the 10-year lucky? Why am I using this word 10-year lucky? And I'll explain you why I'm saying so. Look at this graph and look at this graph which I've highlighted here. The last time the Nifty gave negative returns was in 2015. 2015 में उसने negative return दिया था. उसके बाद Nifty year after year has given positive return. थोड़ा कम दिया, थोड़ा ज़्यादा दिया, but पैसा बना के दिया. 2016, 17, 18, 19, 10. So 9 years in a row, it has given positive returns, and that's what I've highlighted here. So 10 साल लकी होगा कि नहीं होगा? To answer that, what I did is that I look at the previous rally in the market. Is there a bubble in the market? If there is a market में bubble है तो negative return देगा. लेकिन bubble नहीं है तो फिर positive return देगा. So what I did, I look at the yearly returns of the continuous returns given by the Nifty 50. 2002 से 2007, 6 years in a continuous CAGR was 34%. 34% is two good numbers, am I right? But the next year the market went down by 52%. 2009 to 2010, 2 years, 44% CAGR. The next year market went down by 25%. 3 years, 2012 to 2014, 21% return, CAGR. Market went down. So if you look at the fall, the longer the period and higher CAGR, the fall has been quite drastic in the next year. यहाँ पे थोड़ा कम था CAGR तो मार्केट भी कम गिरा. बट 2016 से 2024 तक 9 साल में the CAGR is only 12.9%. So there is no bubble in the market, in the Nifty 50. Remember that. I know many people ask questions. Yesterday, one of our PMS customers also asked me, there is no bubble. Don't get too much worried about Indian valuations are very rich, ye hai, wo hai. Don't be in that thing. My request to all of you, look at this data. If you want to take a screenshot of this. There is no bubble that has been formed in this market. Now, I given you the background. My sense is that this is another year Indian equity market should do well. But, there will not be any broad-based rally as we saw in 2023-2024. There will be little limited. Reason I believe why Indian market will continue to give positive returns in 2025. Reason number one, stimulus coming from the government of India, both monetary and policy and fiscal policy measures. That's rate cuts and so on and so forth. That will revive the growth in the economy and that will make the Indian market to do well. I do believe FPI will put in more money than what they put in 2024. I do believe domestic inflow will continue to remain as robust as what it was there in 2024. Of course, growth in the earnings will be a little low at this time. I think the consensus seems to be that 13% growth in the earnings. But since market has not gone up too much, it will give, of course, there's one indicator which continues to be a little higher side, is market cap to GDP. And I think that's become a new normal for the market. So I believe 10th year in a row, Indian equity market will give returns. Nifty will make positive returns to the investors, but do not expect the rally as broad as what we have seen in 2023-2024. These are the numbers just to give an understanding about where do we stand in terms of valuation. Sensex latest P is 23 times. If you look at the last year, same time, it was 25 times. So we are lower than that. And if you look at the 10-year average, it was 24.7. So we are trading at, Sensex and Nifty are trading at lower values than that. That's why I believe we'll give a positive returns. BSE mid-cap 41 times versus 10 years average and 25 times last year same time. So it's gone little costly. Why the price moved up and so on and so forth. And if you look at the small cap, it is higher than what it was there last year, but still lower than what it was there 10 years average. So what is the probability of Nifty 50 giving returns bucket? My sense is that it will give near about 10 to 20, 55% probability. And between 0 to 20, I think we should expect 0 to 20 is near about 80%. That's what my probability. Negative was only 10% and above 30, I'm ruling out that possibility. This is the 10 years market returns. Then what you have highlighted in green is the best returns in that which category give the best returns. Whether it's a BSE mid cap, whether it's a BSE small cap, whether it's a Sensex or Nifty. And this is just for the information. Now, what should be your strategy? And then we'll open the floor for question and answer. I'm now summarizing my 1 hour presentation for all of you. Those who have joined late also will get a sense of this. We see some pockets of bubble in mid and small cap. Be careful of what you get into. I met one customer who confessed to me that he invested in one bank, 60% weightage, that company went down by 40%. One company, single company, pulling down his portfolio by 24%. I met another customer, again our PMS customer, he invested in one of the defense mutual fund scheme which got launched in second half of 2024, is losing 17% money in that single mutual fund. That gives you an idea. So I think we need to be very careful about what you get into. I would not be surprised this year large cap does better than the mid and small cap. Okay, provided your stock selection is right. I'm not saying all mid and small cap will not do well. Sorry, they will also do, provided your stock selection. But should we expect broad-based rally in mid and small cap? The answer is no. Answer is no. Again, we will not see as broad rally that we saw in 2020, 2024, in 2025. So your stock selection is not right. I'm afraid you will not make money. I know a lot of you people made a lot of money in 2003, 2024. वही एक्सपेक्टेशन लेके आप 2025 में इंटर कर रहे हो तो मेरा रिक्वेस्ट आप लोग को प्लीज रिड्यूस योर एक्सपेक्टेशन. We are not going to make that kind of a money in 2024. We in the sense Indian market I'm talking about, not we as a markets mojo PMS. Rally will be narrow. In fact, I suspect many of you would see erosion in your capital also if you are not sensible enough. Because a lot of investors, retail investors become overconfident. We have become experts. We understand market. Nothing wrong with that overconfidence, provided that overconfidence translates into returns for you. So you need to reduce expectation. If you don't know how to navigate now challenging time, please take help of a professional fund manager. You can come to PMS. You can use Markets Mojo products that are available to you. But ensure that the focus on 2025 is not that I need to make 25% return in my portfolio. Even if you make 10-15% return, you should be happy with that. But I'm afraid both लोग 10-15% return भी नहीं बनेगा. शायद they might see negative returns if they don't take help of a professional fund manager. So please do that. That's my concluding remarks. And with this, let's open the floor. I know that's why I said it's a marathon webinar. Normally we wind up the webinar by 8. Today it's 8:07 and I've just completed my presentation. Let's open the floor for question. Over to you, Jason.
Okay, I'll start off with a few questions. This first particular question, this is by Rahul. Do you still believe that this rally is setting to 2020 will have strong fundamental base from here in the next 5 years?
Starting to now will say a strong fundamental base to double from here in next 5 years. I'm absolutely believe, Rahulji, there is no reason why we should not make a lot of money in next 5 years. That's what your question, from next 5 years, from double from here. So what are you saying? Okay, double from here is about 14.5% CAGR, mota. Definitely we will make that kind of returns, and I see no reason why we should not make it, because we have a strong leadership at the center. Reforms are going to happen. China plus 1.1 policy is going to play very much in our favor, because no one wants to basically have too much depend on China. Indian entrepreneurs have become more smarter based on the learning that they had in this global financial crisis. Our banking systems are very, very strong. And the other day I was making a statement to someone. He was going gaga about the US regulator and Indian regulator. I told him, boss, tell me in last 5 years which bank has gone collapse in Indian market. But in US we have seen some banks going collapse actually. So what are we talking about? So I think that's a kind of a tough. So I would be surprised if we don't do that, double from here in next 5 years, sir.
Okay, this next question by Mr. C.S. Srihari. Sunil ji, if you see withdrawal of FI from market since 2021, set off for 2019 and 2020 has been negative sell by FI. Only DI has pulled since 2021 for 4 years. How long FI can keep away from 6.5 to a 7 GDP % growth market like India in present global situation?
So I don't think, sir, I will agree with your assessment. If you remember, 2023 FPI put in the highest ever amount Indian equity market, and you all know my prediction. What I believe that I believe FPI will put in money. The most probable scenario will be near about 50,000 to 1 lakh crore. But this year we will see huge inflow, positive inflow coming from the FPI. The reason why I believe that, reason number one is that the US economy is going to give a muted return. That's my base case scenario. Due to that, the money will flow to the emerging markets and India will get its fair share of this. Number one. Number two, 2024, FPI has a very muted inflow. So it's not that FPIs are overweight on India. On the contrary, many FPIs are underweight on India. And that will get corrected in 2025. And hence we will see that inflow coming into the Indian. So I'm confident that FPI will be positive inflow of near about 50,000 to 1 lakh crore in 2025.
Okay, this next question by Vineet. Don't you think paint companies will perform better in 2025 as the crude price will remain subdued?
Vineet sir, was it not the case in 2024? I think we need to all appreciate that the paint industry is facing a huge amount of competition. New players are coming in, everyone wants to gain the market share. And when there is a market share challenge happens, the customer gets benefit, not the manufacturer. So my sense is that there will be some still. Of course, one or two paint companies here and they can do well. But do you see that kind of a wealth that has been created by some of the paint companies? What we saw in last 5-7 years, unlikely to happen that. So I don't think so. See, remember, crude is a factor, but that's not the only factor that you should consider for paint. I think we should also look at the new players coming in. Everyone wants to retain the market share or want to gain the market share. If that's the case, you know what happens.
Okay, question from Mr. Srinath. Hi sir, any green energy stocks you recommend?
Sir, look at Srinath sir, I don't recommend any stock because by regulator, my compliance team asked me not to speak company specific. But you can look at our Mojo One data. If you are not a Mojo One subscriber, I think Jason was talking about the subscription that we have at a very good price. Maybe you can use that. And then from there, you can look at any green energy stock. I'm sorry, sir, I will not be able to answer any stock-specific query. And my request to Jason would be, Jason, please try to understand and appreciate. I do have to comply by compliance team, but I will not be able to track up any company-specific question.
Okay, making a note of that. This next question, your views on China economy as it has a huge impact on our metal industry.
You're right, sir. So I don't know what's going to happen to the Chinese economy. They are struggling. I think when you read the commentary coming from the Chinese authority, they are saying now even if they do 5%, they're happy. This is the Chinese people are saying. Chinese the policymakers are saying. So they are likely to grow at 4.8%. They are looking at 5%. So basically, what they are saying, they are not looking at very super duper growth in 2025. Now that's also subject to what happens by the Trump, whether does he import that 60% import tariff and so and so. So if you ask me very frankly, sir, let's wait for the Trump to assume as a presidency and what kind of policy action he does, and then maybe we'll be in a better clarity about what happens to the Chinese economy. Right now, our base case scenario, what I while making these predictions and this one, my base case scenario is that Chinese economy will grow at the same pace what it has grown in 2024.
Okay, this question by Raj. He says, in today's dynamic and fast-changing world, how does one pinpoint a company which will not only give decent returns, but be able to survive the onslaught of competition? What should be the key pointers to identify such companies and then to cultivate the patience to keep holding on such companies despite the market volatility?
So it's very difficult, the human psychology is so bad actually that, if for some reason some company does not perform well, for 1 year people get little jittery. In fact, हमारे यहाँ पे तो जो investor 3 महीना भी नहीं चलता तो अरे ये company यहाँ पे recover किया था चला नहीं, what is wrong, this and that. So I think patience, cultivating patience is a very, very. So okay, what are the dynamic and fast changing? How does one pinpoint a company? What I do, I'll explain you. And of course, if you are not able to do that, use our Mojo stock as a guiding star for you to help you navigate this dynamic market scenario. Listen to the management. Look at the strategy of the management. That's very, very critical. If your strategy is not at the right place, you may do well for a certain period of time, but you will not be able to make money. But if your strategy is right, even you may not do well, but you will still make money. I'll give you one classical example. What we did, we have one company in our PMS portfolio which supplies machinery for the ethanol. And when this government of India came out with that restriction on how much sugar can be transferred to the ethanol, the company did not do well. We hold that company in our portfolio. And that patience really paid off well, actually, in that sense. So you need to understand which industry they are into, that, what is the competitive scenario within that industry. And sir, this is not easy, I must tell you, Rajji. It looks very easy, but then you need to understand the various dynamics, what other people are doing in the industry, what global, what can the demand can come in, where the supply can come in. There are various parameters that you need to put in place to understand what's going to happen that. So that's why, and patience is something which I believe, unfortunately, in this country, there are a lot of retail investors don't have it. In fact, they want to play more like a T20 than the 5-day match. You know, they want, I've realized that, and that's also applicable to PMS customers also. Sometimes if they don't see returns happening in 6 months, they basically get hyper with their this one. So it's not an easy thing, and competition comes from anywhere. Sometimes the competition comes from, you would not believe, like I give an example of, Avenue Supermarket, which came out with the great numbers yesterday, business data, and today the script was up. Who could have thought that Avenue Supermarket can have a competition from a quick service player? No one thought about it. So competition comes from anywhere, and are you ready to take on the competition? If not, then what happens, and so on and so forth. I think it's really, you need to have a really that much time and energy to analyze, understand depth. That's all into experience to understand where competition will come in, what would happen, and so on and so forth. It's not so easy. My simple advice would be, Raj sir, if you allow me to do that, please follow Markets Mojo Score or come to PMS. We will do all the hard work. You enjoy the upside ride of the market.
Okay, this next question by R. Padma. Among gold ETF and silver ETF, which would be preferable in 2025?
So, if you look at the return prediction that I made prediction higher for the silver as compared to the gold. Having said that, let me also remind you, I also made similar prediction last year also. But both gold and silver give very similar returns. But I believe silver looks to be more structural story in terms of the growth because of AI, because of photovoltaic cell it goes into. I think it's more a structural story. So if you ask me, if I have to put money, I'll put in silver as compared to gold, given difference between. But having said that, not only to you, Padmaji, but everyone else also, gold and silver should be part of your assets allocation. You should always aim for 10 to 15% in gold and silver. Neither it should be too low, nor it should be too high, because you have a view on the price of the gold or silver.
Okay, moving on, a question by Santosh. Nice presentation, Sunil. So let us know how you see sugar as a sector for 2025.
See, there are a couple of challenges, I must tell you that. On one hand, each state government is increasing FRP, and you know what Punjab government did in terms of FRP is fair remuneration price for the sugar cane, which is my raw material to manufacture sugar. It has not increased. Sugar price also not been increased by the government of India. Ethanol price, which was supposed to be revised, has not been revised. So what happens that? So I think it's a lot of government control. So I don't have too much visibility at this point because it's all government. What government will announce tomorrow, I have no control. Am I right? I would not be surprised if sugar companies underperform in 2025. Why? Because of higher FRP announced by the state government. FRP is a free, fair and remunerative price on the sugar cane. No price hike announced. I don't know what is the sugar export quota that will be announced. And I believe sugar price in the international market also come down. That's what my memory shows me. And no clarity on when and how much hike would be done on the ethanol.
Okay, I can see Mr. Ganesh Rajan and a few investors asking a particular query. Can I purchase the plan? I'm already a paid member. How can you go about adjusting the plan? So for all the investors who are already a paid member on the website, in case you use this particular plan, your new subscription would start after your current plan ends. So you can go about and particularly take this plan for 3 years. And let's say your plan is ending at 2026, it would then be extended to 2029. So moving on to this next question by Manoj. Is momentum strategy likely to be an excessively risky in 2025 as compared to 2024?
Depending on what kind of momentum strategy you're adopting. See, the beauty with the momentum, which people don't realize that momentum strategy also requires some adjustment in your stock selection and this one. If you are not able to adjust that, then probability is very high that you are going to have a risky scenario. But you are smart enough to do the adjustment in your momentum strategy, you can definitely do well. So it's depending upon how much fine tuning you are doing to your momentum strategy to generate the alpha. It's all function of that. पर आपने ये सोच के लिखा 2024 में जो चला है 2025 वही चलने वाला है, I'm afraid then you are going to lose money.
Okay, question by Sidhu on IPOs. Dear sir, many IPOs came for 2024. Hope the same for 2025. And there are some good IPOs as well. Do you think it's a good option for investment?
Sidhu sir, it's all depending on what price the company comes, what is the pedigree of the management, and so on and so forth. My personal opinion has been that if you invest in a good IPO, normally you end up making good money. Okay, but I have also realized when the IPO comes at the higher prices, then your wait becomes a little longer than what it would be. So it's all depending upon. I'll give a classical example. SBI card came out with an IPO just before the COVID hit us. And when you look at after 5 years, it's still below the offer price. The market has moved up. The script did not. This all depends upon what valuations you come in. At the same time, there are some IPO which came out with a good price and they've given bountiful returns to the investors. So I don't want to go about company specific because I don't know Sagility, I don't know about IGL, what price they're going to come and so on and so forth. I don't want to go into that. The basic principle is that what applies to the secondary also applies to primary market. Quality of the management. And I always believe that if the management is good, it will always make money for you. If the management is not good, eventually it will lose money for you. आप कुछ भी कर लो, सेक्टर अच्छा होगा, सब कुछ अच्छा होगा, वो आदमी आपका पैसा नहीं बना के जाएगा.
Okay, moving on to this next question by Pramod. What's your outlook on healthcare and hospitality industry in 2025?
I think it should do well. The only thing, some of these companies are definitely commanding a very rich valuation. In fact, it's becoming more and more private equity players kind of a stuff, where more consolidations are happening and so on and so forth. I think you have to remain a little company specific. Do we see a broad-based rally in healthcare and hospitality in 2024? Probability is very low.
Okay, this question by Rohan. Hello, so happy New Year to you and the Mojo team. What's your view on hotel, the chemical and auto ancillary sector?
So hotel, I think they are having a best time. You ask everyone and everyone is saying we are going to this vacation, we are going to that vacation, and people are spending money like anything on this. Some of the hotels in the smaller towns have become so costly. I'm talking 5 stars. Sometimes you don't, despite paying that money, you don't get the rooms there. So I think it's somehow doing well. I think it will take a couple of years more to supply to come in, and then basically, and Government of India also wants to promote hotel because it gives a lot of manpower. It can attract forex for us because if foreign tourists comes in, they bring in a lot of forex for us, and it helps to manage our deficit also. And I do believe that when the budget gets presented, I think government will come out with if you remember last year also in the budget, government did give a lot of boost to the tourism. So hotel sector should do well. We have Kumbh Mela also, that could also attract a lot of tourists coming in. Chemical is a function of what happens to the China. So right now I don't have a handle. I believe that what happened to China is also a function of stimulus and what happens to from the Trump, the policy action. So I think we need to wait and watch. And auto ancillary is a function of what. So auto ancillary is a 3 revenue stream: export, OEM, and the replacement market. So I'm not very sure. I think auto ancillary as a overall will do extremely well. I think we have to be a little careful about stock selection. There are some players who have a lot of focus on ICE engine. I think they may struggle to outperform. But those who have a product which is neutral, I think last Monday I was listening to Jason. He was talking about one auto ancillary company, which is which products gets fined in ICE as well as EV. I think those kind of companies can do relatively better.
Okay, this next question, one of the investors. Dear Sunilji, the good thing with respect to India is that there are no major political events like elections. Only two states, Delhi and Bihar, will undergo election, which will not have major impact. However, the chances of increase in LTCG or implementation of DTC, which will not go well with the market. Any view on this aspect?
What is the implementation of what? Can you just place the LTC chances? No. So chances of increase in LTCG, we need to wait and watch, sir. DTC is not going to come in this budget. That's for sure, because I think government made it loud and clear. It still is a work in progress. So, since DTC is not going to come, I doubt that they will do something terribly wrong with the LTCG. I think government also need to understand now that they are making more money with the good market. If you look at the direct tax collection, it's been extremely good. Mainly because of a lot of people made short-term capital gain, a lot of people made long-term capital gain, and STT also. If they try to do some changes in the LTCG right now, and of course this is my personal opinion, not necessarily that finance minister should listen to me, I think it's going to disturb, and especially when the economy is little slowed down. So I think this time it's need a boost. You know, there is a very famous saying that you should take a the bitter pill when the going is great. Right now, going is not so great in the economy front. So my sense is that government will not come out with that. They will not disturb that. They did good last time only. I don't think they'll be in a hurry to do that. And I think might as well they do it along with the DTC only. So that's what will happen. And we are right. There is no general election fear this time. And that's why I have not made any prediction also. Others last time I did over general election. I think government should do. I think government will focus more on the reforms rather than trying to do increase in LTCG or implement DTC. DTC will most probably come in the next budget, or maybe, I don't know, is a provision to get introduced in the parliament between the two budgets, I don't know. But I don't expect DTC to happen on 1st Feb 2025.
Okay, moving on to this next question by Pawan. What are the sectors where you mentioned there would be a bubble in valuation?
So I don't think there are sectors that is a bubble, but within the sector there are companies which are in bubble zone. Maybe realty is one sector which I believe is in a little valuation have gone little basic actually. Well, they'll be able to sustain at that level. Looks little difficult. My sense is that. So I think but there is no one sector I can see where the complete sector is in a bubble zone. Kind of a scenario that we saw in 2022. Where chemical companies were commanding as good as valuation like FMCG companies. If you remember, I mentioned that how can chemical company can command price to sales of 10 times? Unka to not the brand and not the business, it's a commodity business. Kaise command sakte? And we have seen that. I don't think that kind of a zone that we have gone into. But yes, within that, there are some companies which are commanding a very rich valuation. I don't think they're justified to have that kind of valuation. So, ऐसा कोई बड़ा कोई सेक्टर नहीं लग रहा है जहाँ पे अक्का सेक्टर इज इन बबल जोन. ऐसा नहीं लग रहा है.
Okay, this next question by Sarang. Sunil sir, really thankful for your analysis. What's your view on AI as a sector? We don't see much stocks in this sector in India because we have companies more leaning towards traditional IT services. Your views?
So, AI is the future, whether we like it, whether we don't like it. Okay? And the pace of adoption of AI is going to increase so substantially that you will say, ये तो AI जो हम लोग use करें is nothing. It's like how the mobile phone got evolved, Like पहले वो touch pad था, बड़ा phone था, then we have smartphone, and now a lot of things can be done with a mobile phone. AI is likely to be like this one. So pace of reform is going to be very extremely high, and adoption of AI would be high. We don't have any stocks like, of course, we don't have any likes of NVIDIA or so and so on. Remember, IT software as a sector, services sector, is the one who is going to implement a lot of AI. At the same time, companies like us are using AI now in terms of how we can service the customers, how we can, you must have seen our Mojo Times is a function of AI only. So we have more and more companies are going to adopt, which may not be visible on the face of it, but you will see a lot of this happening at the back end. So it may not get realized on the front end, but it's getting a lot of on the back end. And AI is going to happen. So I don't think we are traditionally IT services leaning to us. I don't doubt that. A lot of companies are having a complete team only to see how we can use AI to improve our products and services. How do we reach out to the customers faster, quicker? How can we change our inventory very faster and quicker? How do we create more delight for the customers quicker and faster? I think that's all going to happen. And due to that, the productivity is going to go up. So my sense is extremely bullish on artificial intelligence. Having said that, not necessarily everyone is going to be successful in AI, because some will stuck with the primitive AI, and the pace of change is going to so high in AI that the today's leader may not be the leaders of tomorrow. Let me make it that very loud and clear.
Okay, Mr. Sunil, that's it with the Q&A session for today.
Do we have questions, or we are running out of time?
No, we do have a few more questions.
Let's take up, let's take up, because we did promise them it's a marathon webinar.
Sure. Moving to this next question by Mohan Kumaran. Happy New Year to you and the team, sir. What's your opinion on the valuation of small and mid cap in 2024 vis-a-vis 2023? Is it too rich?
So I did make a presentation. Just go through our PPT. It's available on our YouTube channel. Please go through that. I did mention where does the mid cap in BSE mid cap index valuation at present as compared to what it was the same time last year, and 10 years average. And I also presented for small cap. Small cap is still below what it was there, 10 years average. Mid cap is higher as compared to last year also, and 10 years average also. And of course, I have also given a fundamental of mid and small cap. What is the growth in the top line? What is the growth in the bottom line? So it's available. So that should give you an answer to that.
Okay, speaking about AI, we have quite a few investors who are asking this particular question. How do you think AI would impact high-paid IT jobs and thus our economy and consumption patterns?
So I think people, those who, the IT professionals are also not foolish, they will also learn and try to see that how they can do valuation in AI. So I don't think that's going to impact too much on the contrary, they will learn that skill and they will transform themselves to start learning. So I'll tell you by example. When I cleared my CA, I was not knowing how to operate desktop computer. वो टाइपिंग करना पड़ता ना, मैंने तो कभी लाइफ में किया भी नहीं था. And many times when I was joined the firm, 0 and O, I used to get mixed up with that to type करने. But then you learn that. So I think I don't think that's it. Really, people will evolve, people will learn, and that's the name of the game. But your question is on the economy and consumption. I think it's going to transform the economy and the consumption. The one good thing about India, and I'm really hats off to our policy makers, that they've used the digital platform very effectively. And what does the AI needs? AI needs data. Digital is all about data. Am I right? So that's going to boost the growth in the economy, and then the consumption. I believe consumption will also, because people will then know at what point of time what people consume based on AI, and then you will offer that product to that customer to increase the consumption. So I think that's going to, so I think both consumption and economy point of view, for India, AI is a boon, not a ban. Last three questions, Jason.
Sure, I'll pick this one by Vasudevan. Hi Sunil, is there any correlation to investment by FIIs and DIs versus the index?
There is no such correlation as Sir Vasudevan, sir. So FPI just invested almost, in fact, zero investment, you can say, 490, less than 500 crore. Yet Indian market did well. Am I right? Even mid and small cap did much better than what the large cap did. So there is no, but having said there is no correlation, it will be little harsh to say that. There is a correlation, it is too high correlation, answer is no.
Okay, a few of the investors are asking this particular question on PMS. Has the minimum ticket price been revised to 1 crore now?
No, sir. Pranav, sir, our PMS ticket size is 50 lakhs only. Ideally, we want customers to come with 1 crore. But those who don't have 1 crore, they can come with 50 lakhs also.
Okay, question by Vineet. I've noticed that since COVID, experts on news channels frequently forecast the next year will be tough for investors to make money.
Sorry, come again?
Yeah, I'll just flash this question as well for you to read.
जेसन थोड़ा थक गया है तो बहुत फास्ट बोल दिया.
नहीं, sorry about that. This question by Vineet. I've noticed that since COVID, experts on news channels frequently forecast that the next year will be tough for investors to make money. Yet the reality often proves them wrong. For 2025, they are once again predicting that investors will only achieve lower double-digit returns. Could you explain the psychology behind the experts' predictions?
Sir, I have nobody to talk about their psychology and who are there. People can go wrong. I have also gone wrong. So that's a way. See, as an expert, what we do it. We look at the data. We try to understand the data in the best. And we are living in such a dynamic situation where things are changing very, very fast. Who would have thought that US economy will grow at 2.8% in 2024? No one. Am I right? Who would have thought that, the escalation between Israel and Gaza and so on and so forth. So we are living in a very dynamic situation. Who would have thought that food inflation will go through the roof in 2024? So the challenges are there. People are making, using the data based on their best understanding, they are trying to predict what can happen. Sometimes you go wrong, sometimes you go right. But I don't think we should, because of 1 year you go right or go wrong, someone should basically ridicule them actually. They're making their efforts benefit to the larger section of the society. That's why there is no compulsion of them to make prediction. The reason why experts make prediction to help navigate the investors, retail investors, to navigate the market dynamics. That's the only objective. Even if they don't make prediction, उनका कोई salary कम नहीं होने वाला है, उनका कोई income कम नहीं होने वाला है. The idea is to help the retail investors to navigate the market situation. That's the only objective. And I think we should appreciate that rather than they are going right or wrong. So I think that's the end of this, because I said last three. Is that my understanding right?
Yes, Mr. Sunil. I'll just pick one last question by Jacob. He's been asking this one.
Okay.
Government and supporting commentators have been claiming 6.5 real GDP growth, but corporate earnings have not been reflecting this. Where is the disconnect? Inflation is 7% plus on the ground, irrespective of what official data claims. So where's the room for RBI to cut rates? Also, given where dollar is, your views on how and all these will change and markets can really move up?
Okay, so very good question. I'm happy, Jason, you took this question. Otherwise, we would have missed on that. So we need to understand that where is the growth coming in from? That's what your question has been. One is that agriculture is doing very well. It doesn't get captured in our earnings. Number one, there are many companies which are outside the listed space of India. GDP is a function of listed as well as unlisted. Number three, we do exports, especially IT software. It doesn't get captured in the domestic GDP. To only some portion get covered. It's not that everything get this one. Now, if the US does well, even if India does not do well, that does basically benefit you basically. So that's where, number one. Number two, that's answer you for the corporate earnings. And then there is inflation 7+1. Where is the possibility of rate cut? So I think you are right that food inflation. So if you remove the food inflation, then the problem is not so great. Am I right? But the food inflation is there. And my sense is that because of good monsoon this year and likely to be good monsoon next year, RBI will be. And I think RBI also has a mandate to see that the economy doesn't slow down. So, and you're right, dollar, what has happened, if we reduce the rate, rupee will further depreciate. But my sense is that I think this time RBI will bite the bullet. They will cut the rate. And I'm not expecting too many rate cuts. I'm only expecting 3 rate cuts in whole of 2025. And why? Because economy needs that support to revive the consumption. RBI has gone on the record yesterday that private capex is not happening. Now, even to boost the private capex, you need to have the lower rate of interest. So that's basically, it's not a straight equation of inflation and this only. I think the RBI also need to look at all other macro factors to decide where do we need to have the rate of interest being set. So that's what, see, otherwise, how does one explain? In fact, for FED, for example, the economy is doing extremely well. The inflation moved up, and why did the FED basically reduce the rate of interest? Logically, they should not have done it, am I right? But they did it. The same way, I think RBI will do that. With this, I believe that's the last question. So thanks a lot, everyone, having a patience listening. Over to you, Jason.
Yeah, thanks a lot everyone for attending today's event, and we're happy to receive a lot of questions on various different topics. Before I end the event, I would like all the investors, in case you all have not actually used this plan, this would only be there for a limited period. Since you're also a webinar attendee, we're giving you an additional year free, over an additional year free. So a total of 16,999 for 3 years at 70% off. We'll also be sending out notifications on this particular event. And looking forward to seeing you all come for the events in the coming days. Goodbye and have a great weekend. Thank you so much.